Sheaths made from black polythene pipe aren't particularly pretty and they might not suit a collector. But if you're a practical outdoorsy sort of a person using knives and particularly machetes, polythene pipe makes an excellent sheath. It's strong and it's easy to keep clean. It comes in a variety of sizes and you can get it from plumbing supply stores or agricultural supply stores. I grew up with leather sheaths, but leather was hard to find. Here's a leather sheath I made out of a bit of deer hide that I tanned in pine bark liquor. It's okay, it works all right. Here's a nice sheath made by a professional, but you have to be careful because you can easily damage a sheath, especially with a big sharp blade like this. If you don't put the knife in dead square, you can cut through the edge and it's not good. Or worse still, you can lean on the knife and you can push it out through the bottom of your sheath and maybe into your car upholstery, or you might catch your fingers on it when you're adjusting your sheath, so it's not good. A leather sheath's quite appropriate for a folding knife. Here's a Sword Peasant folder that I use this type of knife a lot, and I often carry it in my pocket, but sometimes it's good to have it in a sheath. I find the protrusion at the top doesn't hurt my pocket generally, but the sheath is a good option. I've made knives out of conveyor belting and out of sheet polythene, or sheet, I think it's actually PVC plastic, but I like the Alcathene. Here's the latest one I've made, a little Victory all-purpose knife there. Very safe and secure, easy to keep clean. I can wash the inside with a bottle brush or squirt a hose through it, and it's tight around my waist. So you've got to heat up the polythene to shape it. So I do it in the oven. The oven, you've got to keep an eye on it. It gets soft around about 100 degrees. I might set the oven to 115. And you've got to have some tools ready to deal with the hot polythene. So I clamp it between a couple of planks. And here you go. You've got to leave it in long enough to let it cool. The clamp on the knife handle has created some dimples so that the ridges on the front of the handle have to click underneath the dimples, and that holds it securely. But you've got to let it cool down. If you move it too quickly, it might try to revert to a pipe shape. And instead of clamping the knife inside the hot sheath, you can use a wooden former. Like I've carved a bit of wood there for it. Here's a big wide bit for making a machete entrance. And there's a machete sheath. Very sturdy, very rigid, safe, recommended. And for a longer knife like this Sword trapper knife, it's quite long, it's hard to see there, but it's much safer in a polythene sheath. And here's a big heavy chopping knife with a fairly crude tie on the top, but it's just magnificent material. It's always safe. And here's the same big knife I was putting into the leather sheath earlier, but I made a polythene sheath for it. And you generally don't need to retain it in the sheath if it's just hanging there and you're walking around, but if you're running down a hill or scrambling through scrub, it's good to have something like this toggle that passes through the hole at the top of the handle, so you can make sure your knife stays with you. And I can use a prusik loop on the belt cord to adjust my sheath cord, and the loop passes over a Celtic button knot, holds very securely. You can adjust it in place. Never had one come loose, but I do like the security and the simplicity of just making a simple slip knot to hold the knife cord. So it's just a slip knot with an extra little tuck past the tail, down through the loop. Very secure. It might seem complicated, but really I can tie it quickly and untie it in the dark. I've never had a problem with them. Now, if you're wondering about putting the braid on top, it's hard to describe. I'll give you a clue here. I just put 3 wraps around the pipe, and then I start to plait. Now, maybe your sister or your mother can tell you how to plait, or there's plenty of good YouTube tutorials. So it forms the plait like you can see at the top of the picture. It also forms a plait at the bottom of the picture, but you can't continue like that because it just binds up. So you have to pull out the loose cord, or one of the loose cords, but I suggest the bottom one in this case. So you just pull out that loose cord and then you just continue with the process. Hard to describe, like I said, but if you fiddle around, you'll get there. Practice makes perfect. And if you're wondering how to hold the cord in place to stop it sliding off, in the example 1, I've cut a shallow groove around the pipe and then made a tight plain binding. Number 2 has a cord tie going through the sheath, and the top one has a couple of wire ties going through holes in the sheath. I've never had a cord one cut through, but I like the security of the wire one. So this is how I sometimes like to wear a sheath when it's round under my tummy like that. It stays out of the way and it won't catch up on scrub or a fence as I'm moving about. Also, the handle doesn't whack against the stock of my rifle as I'm walking along. And another little consideration is that I can wear my jacket over the top of this and not cause offence to anybody if I'm walking into a hunting area that has public access. I just simply hang the knife normally and then tuck the end of the sheath up through the cord, and there you have it. All the best.